Cam brought a guest. Cam McLeod, photographer, filmmaker, or filmmaker, photographer?
Barely on all those.
Barely. Okay.
Follow your heart.
See how this is going to go here. Has a show Coincidences, and he brought along Joe, last name?
Blake.
Joe Blake, that's right. Joe Blake, was this your idea, Joe?
It started off as a choreographic idea commission with Ryrie Woodbury Dance Company.
But from your brain?
From my brain, from my body.
Yes.
I followed my heart.
Look what happens.
See what happens when you follow your heart?
I think we got a title now.
Follow Your Heart is the title of the podcast, title of the show.
We're going to add something to that, but probably, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Very good. We were supposed to have Sandra. I don't know if Sandra didn't show up, but it turns out we're full here. So, Joe, let's start with you if we can, because I'm excited to have you here. I read Cam's description. Actually, I read your description first that Cam posted to Instagram of Coincidences, this project, and then I read Cam's, and yours was more interesting, let's be honest.
But they were similar.
They were similar.
See, the first coincidence right
that's
there.
The first coincidence. So, but here's Cam's, and then I didn't type yours up because I didn't know you were going to be here. So then I want to hear your explanation of the project, but I'm going to read Cam's, what he wrote. So,
Perfect.
Coincidences. In collaboration with choreographer, I had your name written down right here, Joe Blake, and guided by their descriptive intentions of the titled work Coincidence, when we met up, again in parentheses, the installation is an interpretation of the choreography as reimagined through abstract form and presentation. With a focus on trauma, isolation, and a desire to connect with the physical world, these photographic and video works are an exploration of our journey through a chaotic world and the patchwork of traumas we experience that breaks us down and in their wake provides us space to grow. That's so many art words, Cam.
Oh, I think that's a nice artist statement. It's easy to follow.
Yeah, thank you.
I think you did a nice job.
Thanks. Well, I mean, the thesaurus.
That was how did you use it? Did you go there?
Chat GPT.
Chat GPT spit that one out.
Give me an artist statement.
With some dance stuff.
Okay, Joe, do you have yours pulled up? No, you don't have to read it word for word, but I thought it was fascinating. So your description of the project Coincidences.
Is this not the same one?
No, this is so
It's the same
both
show.
what I posted first was Joe's. So we have a sort of a joint artist statement on
Got
the
you.
project.
Yeah.
We have a project description as well, but I posted Joe's artist statement. So this was what was, in his words, the statement behind the work from his point of view in the choreography and why it was created. And then I had my artist statement, which was different. It was an interpretation of that as you read. So this is Joe's artist statement.
Coincidences is an interdisciplinary multimedia project and contemporary movement experience exploring shared isolation, concepts of sensory stimulation, and informed trauma that impacts the human experience. The original choreography, Coincidences When We Meet, was inspired by the choreographer, that's me, self-informed research initiated by their desire for self-love. Living in white spaces as a mixed-race homosexual, they maneuvered through spaces inflicted or informed through imposter syndrome, microaggression, self-hate, and self-deprecation that manifested in unhealthy conversations or lack of. Through introspection and awareness of isolation, I was discovering clarity and discomfort in new direction through the power of voice and autonomy. What happens when an individual wandering in their self-doubt finds themselves again?
I love it. Very good. And with projects like this, Joe, and it hasn't launched. It's this Friday.
It premieres this Friday.
Yep. And that will be at the Dumpke Arts Plaza,
Yes.
which is very cool. And you're in collaboration with Cam, which is why it's the only reason he's on the podcast. What I'm hoping this project has done for you, and maybe this isn't premature, but has it brought healing? What have you learned through the process?
I mean, this is its third iteration. The first iteration started with the commission with Ryrie Woodbury Dance, which was more looking at sensory stimulation. And then when I restaged it at Weber State, where I'm a professor and program director, I set it on the students. We dug a little deeper. And through that reflection, beginning to understand that, it's actually my space living in white spaces. But this, not just my story, what is it going to affect the students? And what are their stories? And how am I going to take that on in those experiences? From there, being able to work with Cam, yes, deeper introspection, taking the time to look at the images, talking about the film. And interestingly enough, when I saw the first draft of the video, I just was in tears. The juxtaposition, the dual perspectives really actually highlighted my recent diagnosis with ADHD. And it really just blew my mind that they were able to capture, or we were able to work together, and I could see myself in that film. And so healing, absolutely. Choreography is a healing process for me, and it's always a physical journal. And the opportunity to share it just makes it so much more.
Now, the two of you have worked together before, yeah?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you first come together?
That's a good question.
I was trying to remember, and I couldn't.
I reached out to Joe, and I got Joe's name through Tana.
Okay.
And I reached out to him for a project that I was doing, a commercial project with Jaybird headphones. They're
Waters. Now.
Yes, Waters.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tana Waters
Yeah.
now. Right, correct. I was like, Waters. What does that have to do with the headphones? Yeah, they were waterproof.
I was a minute behind you, so
Thought he was just thirsty.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
squirrel.
Yeah.
So I was doing some contract work for this headphone company who wanted to branch out and highlight some untold stories, but through movement. And usually they're no longer a thing, but they were a sports brand, so they were really marketing towards runners and athletes. And I presented this idea of filming dance, and dance as a means of exercise and movement. And I thought it fit into that bucket nicely, but it was just adjacent to more of a traditional sports environment. So I reached out to Joe and asked if he'd be willing to share his movement, but also his story. And that's kind of where, I don't know.
And then they
our
went out of
relationship
business,
kicked off.
so-
And then they went out of business. Yeah.
Well, that was my first time in the States because we recorded.
Cam
the
does really
test there.
good
Yeah,
work
that's right.
for businesses that go out.
Usually.
Fail.
I don't, yeah,
Usually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually.
Oh, I love that.
But interestingly, I had worked with Dylan in another project here with Wade Kavanaugh in the paperwork that was.
Yes,
in the-
I remember that. That was a big deal.
And so I was able to meet Dylan. So that was also a coincidence that we've all come together.
That's right.
Cam, how did you take Joe's words and interpret that through photography? What are some of the decisions you made?
Well, I mean, we worked on this project for probably close to 2 years now.
Oh, that's right. So it began in late 2020 or something?
Yeah, we were supposed to actually film last October, and the no-see-ums, we had such a warm fall, the no-see-ums out at Antelope Island where we filmed.
Did you have that on your list of things to check before you went out
We
there?
did. We went and
Yes.
scouted multiple times, and we found that the no-see-ums were so bad that we had to abort. And
Interesting.
we rescheduled for the spring, so we ended up waiting through the whole winter, and then we shot in April. But leading up to October of last year, we probably met for almost a full year talking about the project and trying to turn it into words, because Joe communicates through movement. And so he had an artist kind of brief, but really what I needed to build visuals around that was a better sense of clarity on what he was trying to say through his movements. And so we had, I don't know how many countless meetings in really trying to figure out like what's he trying to say, who are these characters, why are they moving in this way. So I was trying to really break down the process of his approach to choreography and this project in particular, and like why, what are we trying to say visually that will add to this, because we were looking at it as an installation, so we didn't want to just capture a performance piece. We wanted to really create its own body of work or its own art installation around the choreography. So for me to do that, and for me to give Dylan direction on how to do that, we really needed to understand like what we were trying to say and to create a mood and create a style around that. So Yeah, a year of conversations to get to where we were at. I think within the artist statement, it's trauma, self-awareness, the idea that your identity is yours, but it's adjacent to what's going around you, and trying to capture that. So, that I don't know. Those were all informative languages that we tried to build into the style of the video and the photos. So, really capturing an abstract emotional experience as opposed to a documentation of the work.
First time shooting something like this, Cam?
No, not really.
Okay.
Joe and I also worked together on Social and Distance, which
Yep,
was
I
in
remember that.
collaboration
Okay.
with Tana Waters,
Yeah.
previously Tana Halbert.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure I had that right. So Tana and I collaborated on a project through Ogden Movement Collective during COVID to capture somewhat similar themes, but the idea of social or collective isolation. And that piece was called Social and Distance, and that was installed at Ogden Contemporary Arts for a short period of time. I think it was up for like 6 weeks. And that also included photo, video installations, a bunch of GIFs, just basically looping imagery that captured a sense of chaos, and then live performances as well. So it's a very similar format, I guess, and even some similar themes, but very different subject matter and different, a very different location for the installation, which posed a whole new set of restrictions and opportunities, but then also filming outside and, yeah.
When did you wrap things up? How long have you been sitting on this?
We shot it all in a day. So
We did.
the shooting wasn't long. It was the pre-production and post-production that took so long.
And then a storm came in, kind of shortened our process outdoors.
Yeah, we were planning on filming for 2 days, or 2 separate days, and we ended up not being able to do that. So we got everything we needed in one day. And then it was just a matter of the long process of going through the work and editing the work, and not just editing as like a formal matter, but like really going through it and curating the work, and both on photo and video, and putting it together to create the narrative that we were looking for.
Any big changes after that day of filming? Or did it stay pretty true?
No, it stayed pretty true, I think. We were just talking before we stepped in to do the podcast that like I've been going back through the work and the photos specifically, not the video, but the first round of edits that I did with the photos it was mostly black and white, and I really loved the way they turned out in black and white. And a lot of that was also this idea of trauma and this idea of introspection towards your trauma and trying to like understand that. And I really like this idea of like creating imagery that had that was sort of like an X-ray. So the black and white, and then I sort of inverted a lot of those images through post-production in Photoshop, and created almost an inverted layer in black and white that made it look almost like an X-ray. And this idea that we could sort of see through and see the trauma, that the traumas, plural, that we all experience and that are perpetrated on us by others or ourselves, and these things that we experience and we might neglect, but then being able to sort of reflect on them and see them through our own skin. So I was really going back through that imagery and really liked the way it turned out. But because of where we were installing the work, most of the work is going to be in color. Because the plaza itself is so monochromatic to begin with. It's very concrete and very bland in ways. It's kind of a blank slate, but it really receives color better than it would receive more monochromatic work. So there are some black and white images, just not as many as I had kind of originally envisioned. But that was one of those sort of unseen circumstances or restrictions that the plaza presented.
You didn't shoot the project or do around the space where it was going to be. That was afterwards.
No, we knew it was going in the plaza, but we didn't shoot specifically for the plaza.
Yeah.
And then dealt with the plaza. The plaza became another collaborator in a way. Like we had to figure out what the limitations were, both with the space and the timeline given. So what could we put up in that space? And that space is so new to being programmed that we don't quite know what. There's not a lot of proof of installations prior to this project.
Right.
So most things, in fact, everything that's been installed there up to this point has been sculptural, so it's been welded into place. We haven't done any suspension work yet, which I think a lot of people have hoped for in ways, and we explored that, but it's just like you just need longer lead times to figure those problems out, which we didn't have.
And Joe, you're not going to be there the whole time. You're just going to dance and go. You're just going to.
We have two performances.
Okay.
So with the premiere, there will be live performance. The work that was restaged on Weber State students. And then over the summer, I've been working on 2 solos that will bookend the performance. One looking at the trauma that I was moving through in terms of space and individuals and myself, to precede the group work. And then in the end, almost, sorry to say this as a coincidence, but it is following my heart. Where am I going? What's the pathway and where is this freedom? And so hopefully
Look what you started, Cass.
I know, look what you
I'm
started.
telling
It doesn't make sense. But you know, we're even moving through the space. We've been able to work with Lydia Gravis of the Shaw Gallery at Weber State University, and she was one that kind of led us down the track or pathway of really working with nature and bringing that into the space, knowing that it is monochromatic and that it is concrete and man-made or human-made. And then also we are working through new elements because there haven't been, from our understanding or my understanding, this type of project in that space. And so even yesterday, dealing with the weather, with the sound and light, it was really interesting to be freezing in the cold, trying to make light happen in a space. And so I'm really interested and excited for what we bring on October 6th and November 3rd. And other than that, it will sit in this, it will be present in the space until April 30th of 2024.
Weather looks good Friday.
Yeah, it looks amazing Friday. I'm so excited.
We did, just to go back, you asked about if we shot specifically for the space, or maybe Todd asked that, but we did actually take that in consideration. Now that I think about it, we looked at a lot of different locations of where we could shoot the project, and we did look at a lot of potentially concrete indoor environments, especially when weather was questionable. We were trying to find plan Bs, but ultimately we wanted to shoot it outdoors in sort of a more nature environment, to bring that into the space and sort of
Okay, so wait, explain this to me. So are you shooting live on No, you're not here Friday.
No, I'm not here Friday.
Okay, so everything's you shot in a day, but then that's all the shooting that needed to be done. And then the video will be shown how?
So the video is, gosh, how long is it? 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
So the video is 5 minutes, and that will loop on the TV display.
Got you. Okay.
So that'll be a running, looping video.
Yeah.
And then the imagery, actually, and all the imagery won't be up because we need to reserve the main floor for Joe's performance and the dance surface that needs to get laid down, which will go over one of the installation pads. And then in November, so after the last performance, there are 2 large pieces that will get welded down. So there are 1, 2, 3, 5 pieces that have been printed on sort of a plastic material, and they're transparent, and those are getting fabricated with steel frames, and they'll be welded to the floor. And then there's going to be a bunch of vinyl banners. That was another issue or limitation that we had to sort of solve, was how do we create 2-dimensional photographic works and have them live through the harshest environments of a Utah winter
Fall
for
and
6
winter.
months and
Yeah.
not just deteriorate completely. So
So I guess we'll see what happens.
we'll see what happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
And we are doing one more filming,
we are doing. Yep. Go
so
ahead.
that the first Friday of every month, the live performance that will be filmed will be activating the space. So during those gallery strolls, for those that miss it on October and November, we'll be able to see the performance. It will be
Oh,
on
good.
recording
Good.
that
Yeah.
you will
Where is
play.
that going to be?
on the same screen
Same
where
screen.
the
Same screen.
video will be looped.
Okay.
Yes.
So it'll interrupt the looping video. It'll be an insert and play intermittent.
Gotcha.
Once the main art video is done, then the documentation, the archived piece will show after that, and
Yeah.
then we'll go back and kind of loop back and forth. I think is how we're going to
That's
do
so
that.
cool.
But yeah, we're
Awesome.
going to film that tomorrow, actually.
Yes.
So we're going to do a dress rehearsal tomorrow and then film that. And that's more of just an archival documentation of the project, so that when people come and see the photographic works and the video installation, they can also understand what happened there if they missed the live performance.
Coincidences.
Yeah.
Coincidence.
Premiering Friday.
Well, while we have you both here, I have to ask, what are you working on? What else are you working on? Outside of coincidences, what's been keeping you busy? What's coming up?
Oh man, Joe, you go first.
Wow. I leave on Friday or Saturday morning to go to Seattle to perform with the University of Washington's Chamber Dance Company. I do that every year. I come back, I start setting a new work at University of Utah. I'm finishing a work for Weber State University that will premiere. All those will premiere on the same weekend in November. And then being the dance program director at Weber State, there's a lot of coursework, preparing for tenure. And then we are hosting a very large conference, the American College Dance Association's regional conference, where 500 plus university students from the Northwest region will descend on to Ogden, and they will actually be able to experience coincidences in Jumpy Arts Plaza.
Oh, that timing is perfect. Well, we'll try to come up with something for you to do.
Okay, thank you.
You got some light times coming up. Yeah.
I leave Thursday for a trip for Ogden Contemporary Arts. I'll be traveling with Dylan Totaro, documenting 7 artists for a curated showing or exhibition, a group show that will be, I'm not exactly sure what the date of that will be, but basically Jorge Rojas is the curator for the show, and he is facilitating this group of artists to go on a train trip from Denver to Sacramento, and all of their works sort of revolve around the American West. And
There's a murder on the train, isn't there?
and then we have to figure out who
There's a murder on the train. Did,
I'm like, get to the good stuff. That's what it is, isn't it?
so
That
we're-
sounds amazing. What a cool project.
Yeah, so it's a facilitated experience for them to get inspired for the works they're going to create for this group show. We are tasked with creating our own work to help promote that. So we're there to capture the experience of traveling via train through the American West.
I just wish that Jorge would come up with interesting projects, though. So. Just one after another, just like you, Joe. I'm like, gosh.
I mentioned to Cam when he told me that I took a film class, and they mentioned that the trains were like the first film, like the first moving pictures, because you would sit in a chair and you'd look out the window as it traversed across the West, and you watched the landscape. And before the film cameras came, Cass, where are you going? Yeah. Before the film cameras were invented, that was like the first. So I don't know if people weren't looking out windows on boats or whatever, or any other type of transfer.
Just trains.
Just trains,
Just
I guess,
trains.
back then. But I thought it was interesting that you were taking this train across the West.
Yeah, the California Zephyr.
Cali Zephyr.
Yeah.
They shortened it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Sounds phenomenal. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it should be good. Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's one of these projects where there's not like a clear brief, even though it's like client-based work, but it's
Do you
sort
do
of,
anything else? Is that pretty? That's pretty much what you do, isn't it, Cam?
what's that?
Just
Unclear briefs.
Just
just a
unclear
loose-
brief.
Yeah.
I got a loose idea. I'm going to go for it
Loose ideas. That's what we
110%.
do. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited because it's sort of a blank slate. We get to kind of show up and create what inspires us. So we're almost like given the space to be artists in our own right on the trip, even though we're not sort of the featured artists or the artists who are going to be in this group show, but our work is going to help promote that show. So
It's like nobody tells Cam what to do.
yeah,
How long is that trip?
5 days. Yeah.
5 days.
Yeah.
Enough for murder to happen.
Enough for
I tell you what,
I mean, I don't want that to happen, but if you were to capture a story within a story,
yeah.
within stories probably.
Joe, can I get to know you just
Yes,
for a minute?
please.
How did you know when you wanted to be a dancer? Like, how did you go from
Little homosexual
to that
dancing queen.
to well, I don't know, you watch Cheer? You watch Cheer on Netflix? I
Yes.
love Cheer, right?
Yes.
And the one guy was he played football before. He's like, I'm extra is the word he used, and then he ended up going to Cheer. And so I don't know what age that was when you became a dancer, and then at what point when you were dancing, which is this part that fascinates me, where you thought to yourself, this can't just be a hobby, this has to be a career. Like, I have to make a living I have to do this for the rest of my life.
Tell
And you got
everyone.
like 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Wrap
right
it
now-
up. Right?
You know, it was MTV, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson. I knew that I wanted to move my body like they did. And
Okay, you may not know this. I took jazz for 10 minutes.
We may not know this. Everybody knows this.
Okay, true. I know some jazz dance to Janet Jackson. I will show you later.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Rhythm Nation.
Well, yeah, we'll compare moves.
Okay, yes,
yeah.
let's
Okay.
do And then they needed a gymnast in high school for Pippin.
Oh,
And they wanted me to learn choreography. I had no clue what it was. I just thought learning steps was just learning steps. From there, I ended up being the first boy on the all-girl dance team. And we went to nationals. They made a big announcement. And I just moved off to Germany, came back, and I decided I wanted to dance and go to college. And a friend said, hey, there's a black professor at University of Wyoming. And I moved out to Laramie, Wyoming the week before Matthew Shepard's life was taken away. And then I saw University of Utah's dance program and got sucked into Utah. And every time I leave, I always end up coming back. And I've been able to dance with Ray Woodbury, dance company is celebrating 60 years, be able to travel the world, dance in amazing theaters, and just the opportunity to share those experiences and passion for dance and the opportunities that it brings to meet Cam as well as others, to work with them and to share that with students. And then I work with individuals in the incarcerated system, individuals with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and all disabilities. It makes sense that I am on this pathway.
I love it. And just based off of reality shows, because that's where I live, Utah kicks out some dancers.
Oh, they sure do. They sure do.
How? What is that?
So much. I mean, I keep hearing stuff. Ballroom is such a huge culture here. And clogging, I don't know anything about clogging, but
Okay.
every university in Utah has a dance program.
Okay.
Cass,
Did you dance?
I clogged, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I knew to
good
throw it out
dancer,
there. And Utah's one of the few states that has dance in elementary schools, junior high, high school, and beyond. So it's really quite amazing. There's something going on.
I
We
love it.
follow our heart like cats.
Yeah.
Joe, Cam, thanks so much. And good luck on Friday. I'll be in a van. Todd and I will be at the van, and so we will miss it essentially. Well, it's like literally right next to us.
I'll sneak
You're
up.
going to look out the window probably and watch what's going on. But first Friday is going to be happening because that will be at the Plaza 6 to 9, if I remember correctly.
Performances at 7:30.
Performance is at 7:30. Okay, good luck, Joe.